Man like Mark Sullivan, the warrior self. Stay tuned for the thrilling episode. Woo!
A positive mental attitude can clear away all obstacles which stand between you and your major purpose in life.
This is the Snowboard Project featuring Mark Sullivan and the Beat. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.
Welcome back to the Snowboard Project. I'm Mark Sullivan.
And I am the Beav, and we're coming at you with the second part of our week. What week is it, Sully?
It's the week of Ross.
The week of Ross.
And I'm not talking Bob Ross. I'm talking snowboarding Ross.
Shoot, I was hoping that we were going to go into, interviewing, posthumously Bob Ross, from the grave about painting.
I know, that would actually be a pretty good interview if we could get him, but it's going to be hard.
That would be amazing.
Yes.
Well,
anyhow, we have another Ross today.
What Ross are we talking about, Sully?
We got Ross the Boss Powers. And Ross the Boss Powers, of course, has 2 Olympic medals.
Right.
One, he got a bronze in Nagano in Japan. And then secondly, he won a gold medal in Salt Lake City in 2002.
Right. He was part of that really dominating U.S. team we swept the podium that year, right?
And that kind of changed the whole game of snowboarding in the Olympics and the value of sponsorships in and around half-pipe riding.
Right.
Certainly once the sweep happened, that's really when the non-endemic sponsors, the Coca-Colas, the Wheaties, etc., got involved with the sport of snowboarding.
Right. So you obviously talked about his Olympic legacy, and did you talk about what is he doing now? Is he still in the sport, or is he not? Has he started some kind of business or something? What's Ross doing?
So Ross is actually a coach of aspiring snowboarders. And so he was one of the first students at this ski and snowboard academy where people learn how to compete on an international level called the Stratton Mountain School.
Right.
Well, he was the first snowboarder to attend the Stratton Mountain School. And today he is actually coaching kids who are now going to this boarding school for basically kids who want to be competitive at snowboarding or skiing.
Right. Obviously, many of us have heard of SMS and a number of those other schools kind of across the nation. So that's pretty awesome that he's doing that.
Yeah, Ross is the boss. I mean, he was just always, to me, one of my favorite pros as far as how he dealt with people, how he was always down to earth and humble. And I thought that really a lot of riders could take a page from the book of Ross Powers.
All right. Well, should we just go ahead and just jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Ross the Boss Powers, episode number 49. All right, today I am joined by Ross the Boss Powers. I would say he was the winningest halfpipe rider ever, but that might belong to Shaun White now. He was the winningest halfpipe rider ever. Olympic gold medalist, Olympic bronze medalist. You've done quite a bit with your snowboarding there, Ross, and now you're coaching, so you're passing the torch to the next generation. So, you've been involved with the sport for what, close to 30 years now?
Yeah, probably. I think I started snowboarding. I tried a friend's board on Back Hill. I think I was 7 years old. Got my first board when I was 8. About to turn 40, so
wow,
yeah, over 30 years.
Damn, that's pretty good, Ross. So let's go back to that. Let's go back to the Olympics really quick, because I think that people kind of know you for winning that gold medal in the sweep, and then also for winning a bronze medal in 1998. Maybe we can start with 1998. What was it like going to the Olympics, representing America, representing snowboarding for the first time ever? That it was in the Olympics. What was that like?
Yeah, definitely. I just grew up, I like to say I grew up with the sport, it was kind of like the first local events to first USSA Nationals to first U.S. team to first FIS World Cup to moving on from there. And then the talk of snowboarding being in the Olympics. I remember, I think I was out at Mount Hood when I heard about that and, just started thinking about it. At the time, I was on the U.S. team, Peter Foley coaching, Pete Del Giudice, and Heath Von Aken, those guys, and, just started working towards it. They started the Grand Prix series, which they still have today, and took your best results out of that. So I think that year, 1998, it started up in Sugarloaf. Actually, Ron Quixote took the win up there.
Yeah.
I think I did decent up there. I can't fully remember. I remember locking my spot in Mammoth. Todd Richards also got in there as well. So, yeah, going to 98, didn't really know what to think about, going to the Olympics. Got over there. We were kind of out in the mountains, not the best weather. At the time, it was a really good pipe, a little bigger than what we were used to.
What, 10 feet?
I have ridden my fair share of 10 feet, maybe even smaller. But no, that year I think it was like 16, which was big at the time, And back then it was best 2 out of 2 runs combined. So had to land both of them. There were some guys ripping. If it was best 1 run, it probably would have gone to Daniel Frank. But had to land both runs and landed my runs. Got the bronze medal. Amazing. Shannon Dunn did as well for the U.S. And I didn't really know how big the Olympics were until I got home, I kind of rushed to get home. I was on the road for so long, doing the qualifiers, going to the Olympics. Even went with some of the team on a little break on the way home and left there early, wanted to get home and see everyone. And then I realized I couldn't even go to the grocery store. It was like crazy. I live in a small town, or did, South Londonderry, and still close by in Stratton. And it was, pretty wild how big the Olympics were.
Yeah, did they throw a parade for you or some kind of special celebration?
Yeah, in South London, or in Londonderry, they do the 4th of July parade. So I got to ride in a fancy old car and be part of that.
So in 1998, you were riding for Burton, and Burton's most prolific rider, Terrier, boycotted those Olympics. And how did that feel when you're riding for the same team, for the same sponsors, but yet here's this guy who's like the super pro, and he's like, no, the Olympics are whack. I'll never do the Olympics. What was that like?
Yeah, I remember seeing Terrier, probably the first time I saw him ride was U.S. Open. I think he was 15 years old. I believe riding the Micro Kelly back then. Ripping her. It was a 5-1. I can't fully remember. But, yeah, he was one of my heroes growing up. I looked up to a lot of guys, a lot of the Burton guys, Andy Coughlin, Jeff Brushy, Jace Ford, all those guys. And then when Terrier came on, he was the new ripper and stepped right in, and so much style and going big and the whole package. So, he's someone I always looked up to. In 98, he chose not to go. He was at a position in his life where he was making enough snowboarding, and not many people get to do that, where they can just choose what they want to do. So that's what he chose. I went to the Olympics and had success there, and it helped my career. And definitely look up to Terrier as a rider still. Did anybody, like back then anyway, give you shit about it? Like, did anybody be like, "Oh, you sold out. You went to represent America at the Olympics, sell out"? I never got any slack for going to the Olympics. Back when the FIS World Cup started, there was the ISF tour as well, and when I was a freshman in high school, I went to the first USSA Nationals in June Lake. And, back then I was racing, riding pipe. That's about all they had back then. We did whatever we could. And I thought I'd do better in the racing, and they were going to pick the first U.S. team that way. And I think I got 7th in the slalom, 10th in the GS, and ended up winning the half pipe. So made it on the team. That next year was the FIS World Cup. So I did get some slack for doing the FIS World Cup because there was the ISF tour going on as well. But had my successes on the FIS side, went over to ISF as well, did those events, won world championships in ISF and overall tour as well. So, I did so many different competitions in snowboarding, and pretty much grateful that I was able to win almost all of them in my time. I know
Right.
Sean White, he definitely with a couple Olympic or 2 Olympic gold,
3 now.
3 Olympic golds. Holy
Yeah,
cow, amazing!
yeah.
Yeah, that and all his U.S. Open, X Games wins, unbelievable.
Right.
But I had my successes as well.
So back then, though, you would compete in slope style and half pipe in the races, but you actually won the gold medal at the X Games for slope style and for half pipe. Is that right? In 1 year?
I did 1998. Like I said, I grew up doing everything. And 98, I won the pipe and won the X or slope style as well. So, that was really cool for me. I think the only other person that's done that is Sean.
Really? So when did you start specializing in pipe, or did you ever specialize just in half pipe?
I probably started specializing more in pipe probably around, it must have been kind of, leading up between the 98 and the 2002 Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you were winning pretty much every half pipe event, or at least doing well at every half pipe event between 98 and 2002. That was kind of when you were on a roll, so to speak. And it seems like every event you would go to, you would come home with some prize money of some kind.
I would try, yeah. After 1998, that was huge for the X Games and the Olympics. And I mean, I want to say my most dominant year for me, it didn't have the huge events like the Olympics, but 1999, I think I won like 7 World Cups, ISF World Championships overall, won the U.S. Open, So that year for me, it felt like one of the best years I was riding at my best, 1999.
Right. But then you went on in 2002 to lead the sweep for America and got the gold medal.
I did, yeah. The 2002 Olympics, that was just amazing, making that team. I actually got to make it earlier than a lot. I did well up at Mount Bachelor and it kind of secured my spot before the last qualifiers. And, Tommy Shasheen making it, JJ, Danny, and then going to those Olympics. 98, I had a good time over there, but I left early. In 2002, I'm like, if I ever go back, I'm going to do the whole package. I'm going to do opening ceremonies, give it my all in my event, do closing ceremonies and everything else. And, I was able to do that. But yeah, 2002, perfect weather, great half pipe. Pat Melendowski cut a great one there. And, just put it all together. There were so many guys riding well. I just wanted to do something that, that really pushed me. And I wanted to do the biggest air I'd ever done. And dropped in, did that method, followed it up with a good run, and some tricks that I really enjoy, McTwist, switch McTwist, back threes, stuff like that, and I was able to pull it off. It was a stressful one because I fell in qualifiers and did my winning run on my first run. I had to sit down and after I fell my second run and watch everyone come down because at that Olympics it was best 1 out of 2, so which was nice for progression.
Right. So in those Olympics, take us through that day when you won that gold medal. What was it like? What was going through your head? Were you really stressed out, or did you kind of have calm that day? Or what was it like kind of leading up to that event and then going through that event and then the whirlwind afterwards?
Yeah, one thing I remember, during the 2002 Olympics, we were, out in a neighborhood of Park City, just, all the guys, the U.S. team. We had a chef over there. We just kind of, I remember Danny Cass, he'd do our runs on video games. We were just chilling and kind of waiting for the event. And day came, beautiful weather. I remember walking up the half pipe. My mom was there. My brother was there, some friends, some family. And my mom's pretty mellow. And I was like, Mom, what are you doing tonight? And she's like, oh, going to the awards. I'm like, oh, yeah. So I just always remember that because it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Went up, riding pretty good in practice. A couple tricks I couldn't get. Myself, Danny, JJ, we all fell our first qualifying run.
Right.
Tommy was the only one that got in there. So second run came around and we landed and all got in there, which was cool. And then, like I said, going into finals, it was, I just wanted to go big. Dropped in, everything clicked. Big method, frontside air, McTwist, front 7, cab 7, I think stale fish, back 3, switch McTwist. So
You remember it like it was yesterday.
kind of,
huh?
yeah. It was, just amazing day.
So at what point did you realize that you were winning or going to win?
I can't remember. I mean, once Danny and JJ came down, they had good runs. Tommy had a great run. Giacomo Crotter had a great run. Heike Sorsa was a lot of hype that going into that Olympics, the big mohawk going huge, doing huge alley oops. Once those guys kind of came down, their scores, I think, some of them, I think Heike might have fallen, stuff like that. But I don't know. I just remember standing there with some of the guys, Heath Van Aken, some of the team, and, then it happened. And then the sweep with Tommy, JJ, and I, and, we'd go through all the, the media stuff there, the flower ceremony. Got to give the flowers to my mom again, which was cool.
Yeah.
And then rushed to drug testing down to Salt Lake for all the press conference and media down there. And then award ceremonies. I remember, I think it was Foo Fighters were playing. Dave Grohl invited us into his RV, doing some shots of whiskey with him.
and so it begins.
Yeah. And then so it begins. And then, back to Park City. Got to see you, Jake Burton. We were all hanging out. Back to the house with a team. Just everyone was celebrating. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think we celebrated pretty much all night long. In fact, if I recall correctly, you went to the Today Show the next day and they were like, you guys can't be on TV in this state of mind right now. Is that true? You guys kind of overpowered it a little bit.
It was true. We didn't go to the Today Show, but we didn't even go there. So yeah, they called that off the night before, and I think Jake Burton had to go step in our spots, which I think he had a big night too.
Yeah.
So we had to hide out for a whole day and not do any media. So
right.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Beeve, sitting here with Sully in a room just talking about snowboarding. If you can believe it, we're just a couple guys with a couple microphones. The idea really was to make a podcast for the people by a couple snowboarders, and that's us. But in turn, we need you to help us out. Go to patreon.com/The Snowboard Project, and just for like a couple bucks, maybe the cost of a beer, you can help us keep creating these shows. This month, we have so much good content for you. We have Torgeir, we have Nate Holland, we have Dave Schreiber, Kurt Heine. We have all these people in the industry, and these are interviews for you so that you can go listen to them and learn something about the industry that you are directly a part of. We want to keep creating them for you. So if you can help us out, 1, share our podcast. 2, potentially donate to our podcast. 3, rate our podcast. And 4, keep listening to our podcast, because the more of those things that we get, the more we can keep creating, the more cool ideas we can start tackling, and the more great stories we can keep bringing to you. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being a part of that. Patreon.com/The Snowboard Project.
Did you do a lot of other press, like Tonight Show, or did you go on like national TV, or what kind of other,
Yeah, Kelly Clark and I both, she won the gold the day before. That's what got us so hyped. We were all in the team house watching her, get her medal and everything. And that was awesome. So her and I, we went to Florida first. We went to the Daytona 500.
Okay.
That was cool. Got to meet a bunch of drivers, go to the drivers meeting, standing out in between their cars, national anthem. So checking out their world was really awesome. And then flew up to New York, did Letterman, a bunch of other stuff. And then I think I went back to Salt Lake, got to go to a bunch of cool events, hockey games, stuff like that, and closing ceremonies. And then, then it was kind of back and forth from New York and LA, doing different media things and stuff like that. Still trying to compete. Still had the US Open, stuff like that to do.
So what was the highlight of that experience as far as like, was it the post winning, the pre-winning, the celebrating with your teammates? What was the best part?
Oh gosh. I mean, that 2002, it was the whole package for me. Just, riding what I thought was the best pipe we've ridden at the time, riding well, doing the biggest tricks of, biggest air I ever did, riding well with my teammates, really pushing the sport, family, friends there, celebrating after, the whole package was, it was there that time.
Right. So did you get like a lot of sponsorship deals after that? Did you have like Visa and Wheaties or whoever? I mean, did you have like different like corporate American sponsors coming after you after that?
We definitely did some. I was riding for Burton at the time. Polo Ralph Lauren, and then after the Olympics, some stuff came up because of the Olympics. Coca-Cola deal, Danny JJ and I did the Nestea deal all together. Activision, they had Tony Hawk Pro Skater. They were doing Pro Snowboard, I think it was called that, with Sean Palmer.
Okay.
So got a deal with them and was part of that video game. Trying to think what else came up.
Did you already have a
Legos?
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, I got to. They were looking for a snowboarder and a skateboarder, so Bob Burnquist and I, they did a Lego package with us and full life-size Lego.
You still have those Lego sets?
I do have some kicking around. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I definitely got some, and it was cool, and I think opened up some doors for people in the future. We made a little money back then, and now they're making a lot. Well, some of them are making a lot.
Yeah, some of them are. Did you have a pro model for Burton at the time, or did that come after the gold medal?
Pro model for Burton, gosh, I got to think about that for a sec. So I think the pro model from Burton came in 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, I won the Burton U.S. Open in 1999, and that was the year, I think, when you guys used to make all the stickers, snowboarder, Bridges, and, one of them, I'd rather be riding Ross Powers pro model.
Hint.
So that was funny, but, I think I earned it by winning the Open that year, and that year I had in 1999 that I was talking about before, where I won all those events. They didn't want to give me a pro model because at the time I was riding for Polo Ralph Lauren.
Right.
And, that was part of the deal. They weren't going to give me one unless I was fully on Burton. And I think I, through my results and stuff, earned it, though.
Yeah. So, but then that went on to a string of pro models, right? You had, 6 or 7 pro models over the years?
Yeah, I think I had 7 pro models. Leading up to my pro model, speaking of Terrier, I loved riding the balance. Pretty much based my pro models off of that.
Okay.
Very similar. But yeah, I had 7. Scott Lenhart, local rider from Rupert, Vermont, grew up riding Bromley, Glebe Mountain Crew. He's an artist, and he did most all my graphics except for the last one. So
do you know how many pro models they would sell per year?
Gosh,
of your board?
I fully can't remember, but I know the first year was pretty big, and then the Olympic year as well.
Yeah. So is that like tens of thousands? Is that hundreds? I mean, give me a ballpark here.
To tell you the truth, I can't fully remember. Maybe I could be wrong because I don't remember, but I want to say towards 10,000 or something.
Wow. So that's pretty cool. And then,
I could be fully wrong, but I'll have to look it up somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, Burton was obviously a dominant force in the market, so it would make sense if you're one of 2 or 3 pro models on Burton that you would sell a lot of boards and to keep it going year after year after year. So, how did your sponsorship from Burton come to an end? How did you lose the pro model, lose the sponsorship?
Oh gosh, it's one of those things. Snowboarding goes. I mean, I had a long career, which I'm happy about, but it goes pretty quick. And then, I think I want to say it was 2006. My deal ended.
Mm-hmm.
Just missed the Torino Olympics. Was the alternate over there.
No pro model for you.
Yeah. The last year I had a pro model, they didn't want to pay Lenhart to do the graphics for my last one. They
really
just had someone else throw together some stuff. I mean, it was still cool, but it was,
right.
They didn't want, I'm all about keeping the same thing kind of going along. So that was that. I think at the time, I want to say Jake and Donna might've been doing a trip or do a step, spending some time not as involved with the team, possibly. Renee Hansen was the team manager. Scandinavian guy came over from Airwalk, started bringing in kind of the riders that he worked with before. And I think before that I had a long deal. I want to say could have even been 3 to 5 years, something like that. So,
really?
It just kind of came to an end, stopped getting a check, and then you go to meet with him, and then he throws out we'll offer you 1/25 of what you were getting paid before. And that was just such an insult. I was just walked away.
All right. Okay. And so what did you do after that? Were you still competing after that?
Yeah, I was still competing some. Actually, I really wanted to work for Burton. I contacted them, talked to them about it. When I did, though, it was just they're like, all we have is, a job answering the phones at the front
Really?
desk. And I'm like, they didn't want to learn, like, come, answer phones at the front desk. This is your job. But they said that's all that was available at the time. So
Right.
after that, I was trying to think what I wanted to do. 2006 Olympics, I was over there in Torino. Got to watch my buddy Seth Westcott win the first border cross.
Yeah.
That night we were hanging out celebrating. He's like, dude, you should do this. We grew up racing together. He was at CVA, I was at SMS, battling, and definitely good friends, still are today, throughout. So, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I should try that. And so I gave border cross a shot. It was definitely...
You did pretty good at it, though, didn't you?
I did. It was definitely a learning experience.
Yeah.
I've always ridden everything, so I feel like I'm a good all-around rider. But, because of my stuff with half pipe and everything else, I got into like an early X Games, and, those guys, man, they're just fast and had the right equipment, and, I could hit all the stuff, but I had to learn how to do it, at speed and really going for it. So it took me a little bit. I had to go down to the NORAM tour. Did well enough there where World Cup was coming to the U.S. When that happens, you get a few more quota spots for the U.S. since they're hosting it. Went up to Sunday River, and it was cool. Peter Foley still running the U.S. snowboard team, coaching up there. Back with him, he was the coach when I was 15. Made the half pipe team, but Sunday River rode well. Actually got third up there. I would have done even better, but I broke my binding in my run.
Really?
So, it was Graham Watanabe. He was a teammate at the time. He won. I got third, and it was like, and then it was kind of like, all right, with that result, I got to kind of get on the tour and start doing the border cross thing.
Back on the U.S. team for the second time.
On the U.S. team, yeah. Made the B team, traveling around with a bunch of the guys, Westcott and Holland and Baumgartner, Diebold, Mangini's, Jason Hale, Pat Hall, so many people. I mean, it was cool. We all worked together as a team and pushed one another. Had my, pulled off another World Cup podium the year going into the Olympics. They were taking your best result. I think Graham had won an early one. Westcott got in there with a second, I believe. And then I'm trying to think, Nate was in there. He had a good result. I think he might have got a second somewhere as well, or a win. And then it came down. There was one spot left, taking one result. Nick Baumgartner had a third. I had a third. And Sean Palmer had a third. And they went to our next result. Baumgartner had a ninth. I had a 12th. Or no, sorry. Baumgartner had an 8th. I had a 9th. Palmer had a 12th. And Baum got the spot.
So you narrowly missed the Olympic team for the second time.
Just missed it by one spot. And in the last qualifier, I was winning a heat and fell. And if I would have just finished that heat, I would have got to go. So, it was close. But yeah, gave it a good run, got a few podiums. And then after that, I was actually asked, Peter Foley asked for my results with that podium and some other ones. He asked me to move up to the A team, and it was the same time the job offering at Stratton Mountain School came up, and border cross is a hard way to make a living, especially with a family. So, took the job at Stratton Mountain School. I've already been doing it for 9 years, and happy.
Yeah. So what's the difference between training to make an Olympic team for half pipe versus training to make an Olympic team for snowboard cross?
Half pipe and border cross. I mean, it's all similar. I mean, the most important thing is, getting out there and riding and having that be best. Also, you got to be strong. You got to spend time in the gym doing it right. I'd say the main difference, border cross, you just got to get used to riding with other people. Half pipe, it's you're out there doing your thing, just focusing on your tricks. Border cross, you're racing against a bunch of other dudes, and that's, you never know what's going to happen, and that can be the hardest, and anything can happen. You train and be the best, and then just get bumped by someone's board and be out.
Have you ever been taken out pretty hard by somebody?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I've definitely been taken out several times, but never that hard where I got injured.
Yeah. Okay. So you were able to survive the snowboard cross career without
Luckily.
critical injuries.
And that's the thing. A lot of times in border cross, everyone's just going for it, and it's like boards clicking here, or someone landing and you can't get the line you want. It's a lot of it's not intentional. It just happens, and you're going at such a high speed. It just it gets crazy at times.
Right. So, but you've competed at the highest level in both. Which one do you think is more challenging as an athlete?
I think they're both challenging. Half pipe, you got to step up and learn those tricks. And, back in the day, we didn't have all the foam pits and airbags and everything else. You kind of waited for a day you were feeling it, or, in Vermont, a rainy, slushy day, whatever it was, and just tried stuff. And then border cross, just learning to, I think Grand Watanabe was one of the best at it, but just being able to train at the speeds you need to compete at.
Right.
Every run, it's just can be so dicey, and you're just going for it. And,
yeah. It seems like half pipe is caught up as far as the speeds, as far as the air time. They're going really, they're hard charging now.
All the disciplines nowadays are just at such a high level. It's so cool to see.
Right. At what point do you think snowboarding kind of separated, where everyone had to choose their discipline and pursue only one discipline instead of kind of being an all-around rider, doing a little pipe, a little slope, a little snowboard cross or whatever?
Yeah, I want to say for me, it was probably around that 2000 time. But, at that time, I'd already been snowboarding, competing for so long. I think the last person to really be able to be dominant in summer was Sean, when he was winning pipes and slopes at X Games and stuff for so many years. But, most of the guys, even you look at guys in most disciplines, or at least at border cross, back then everyone rode everything. So a lot of those guys can ride pipe, they can ride everything now. Kids just get into it, and so young, just get into one discipline. And I like to promote kids riding and becoming good all around riders. And then when you need to choose, it's
right.
time.
And you're a coach at the Stratton Mountain School. Are you suggesting that the kids that you coach today specialize in one discipline, or you're like, no, you're going to do border cross, you're going to do pipe, you're going to do slope, we're going to check it out. Even if you're better at one, you're going to do all of them and get those skills?
Yeah, definitely. I promote good all around riding, and just becoming a good all around athlete. And our younger kids, I try to get them to do everything. As you get older into bigger events, sometimes you have to specialize. And then one of the biggest things nowadays is just financially what it costs to get out and do all the different tours and equipment and everything else just to make it to the next level.
Right. So
some people choose because of those reasons.
Okay, so do you have to handhold the parents through and be like, no, your son is not going to be a half pipe star. He likes the border cross. That would be better for him.
I think kids kind of work into it, and as they get older, they see where they're doing well, and that kind of makes them choose in a way.
Right.
But, you look at it now, slope is so heavy. That's such a hard way to make it even to the next level, because it's so deep. In certain disciplines, kids can make it to a higher level sooner.
How difficult is it to coach the kids versus coaching the parents of those kids who have these goals for their kids that they may or may not be able to achieve?
Yeah, working with the kids is great. Try to, teach them everything I've learned and help them become the best riders they can be. Some parents, you just try to teach them, from the beginning, the right paths and everything, and just try to help them be the best supporter they can be to their children.
Right. Is there anything that you advise your kids, any mistakes that you've made in the past that you advise your kids to avoid, or, some of the things that you've done as a pro on the tour and all of that, just traveling the world? You must have some wisdom beyond here's how you're going to land a 7.
Yeah. Kids I coach, it's kind of just all about putting in the time, no regrets. As you get to older athletes and pros, it's just about, it goes so fast. Just take your time as a pro snowboarder and put everything into it, and just get what you need to be a pro snowboarder. Don't, it's not about all the other things outside of it. Some people build up different things. For me, it was I wanted to build up real estate and become a real estate and do all this kind of stuff. And then you have so many obligations. You're not focusing on what you need to focus on at times. And
right.
Yeah.
So did you go into real estate for a while?
Some, yeah. My wife and I, Marissa, we both have our real estate license and do that some, unfortunately.
So if
in
you're
Vermont, real estate hasn't been too hot. And
Yeah.
I'm so busy coaching and she's busy teaching. We kind of do it for friends and family, but I do enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm looking for 10 acres in a pond in southern Vermont, you're the guy to call.
Give me a call. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Good to know. Hey folks, if you're tuning in to us still, please take a minute to go to Patreon.
Wait.
What?
Is there like some question that they wouldn't still be tuning in?
Well, if they're still listening, they can go to patreon.com/the snowboard project.
But you're still staying still.
Still.
Like they
They might
not
have just
even
listened
made
to
it
the
this
first
far.
5 minutes. Yeah, they
Okay.
might not have made it this far. So.
Okay.
But I just want, if you're still listening, if you're listening, go to patreon.com/the snowboard project, and we're going to count on you guys to support an independent voice in snowboarding media. It's how we're going to keep this thing advertising free and have a voice that is not affected by the advertisers. Okay, but now you're a family man. You kind of live in southern Vermont. You've got a family. How did that transition happen from like kind of being like a guy who's on the road 8 months a year to being a guy who's at home 8 months a year? Was that hard to do, to make that transition?
Yeah, actually for me, it's probably much easier than most. My wife, Marissa, and I got married. We had our first daughter, Victoria, when we were 23. So we started a family pretty young. Our daughter, Meredith, came along 4 years later. So I was married and had children while I was still on tour. So luckily my wife knew what it was like for me to travel a lot and for her to be on the road with me sometimes and hold down the fort at home. And, so that's why it's kind of worked well into the coaching thing. Coaching, at times I still travel, but yeah, usually not as much as I used to back in the day for sure. And living in Vermont's good. I enjoy my job at SMS, working with the kids and next generation. Stratton Mountain School is where I went to school. So it was kind of easy to go back there and start working. And, nowadays, the school, amazing campus, academic buildings, athletic buildings, dorms, everything. We even have a air awareness center with trampolines, foam pit, skate park, indoors on campus. So it's like, the stuff we could only dreamed of when we were kids. Right.
They didn't have that when you were coming up at all. Yeah. In fact, they probably didn't even allow snowboarding at Stratton Mountain School when you were a little kid.
Yeah. I think I was, I want to say probably 14, freshman year going into high school. A little before then, Scott Palmer reached out to me, said SMS was starting up a snowboard program. He was going to be the coach. Mm-hmm. He was a guy, grew up in the area, worked for Burton, rode for Burton. I think he was working for Eric Webster up at CVA before then. They had an early snowboard program. Mm-hmm. And he called me up and asked if I'd be interested. And, the school, we all made it work and, went there. There was a couple of us. It was John Smallwood, Jay Fusco, Jeff McMahon, and myself. And
but you're the name, the name that rings a bell today.
There's a lot. Stratton had a ton of good riders back in the day growing up. I actually grew up riding Bromley at the beginning. My mom still works there. In the cafeteria. I like to say Bromley was my babysitter every weekend, every holiday. That's where I was. And then Susie Ruick, she rode for Burton, and actually she went to SMS as a ski racer before then. She started up a program at Stratton, a comp team. I think it was called Allegro at the time. So I got to train with her some. Paul Johnson helped me out with that. And Susie started the Green Mountain Series, which is now the Southern Vermont Series. So got just an early start with a bunch of good riders around Stratton.
Right. It seems like as well that you guys were able to put more time in on snow than the kids you ended up competing against later in life as you went into your 20s or whatever and were on the Grand Prix, and that you'd already put in a lot more time than kids comparable to you in age.
Oh, yeah, definitely. going to Stratton Mountain School, that allows you to be on snow 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week.
Right.
You train in the morning, ride in the morning, and then you go to classes in the afternoon, doing events on some of the weekends or riding with your friends. And, so yeah, a bunch of time on snow. Back when I was younger, East Coast, they were making the early half pipes. Out west, they were still riding POW most of the time. And so, yeah, we were riding a lot of half pipes. When a half pipe would open at Stratton or, gosh, even Magic back in the day,
Yeah.
all the pros would show up, all the Burton guys, Todd Richards would be up there. So many people, everyone just hiking the pipe, cheering each other on, having a good time, pushing the sport.
Is that like a distinct advantage, do you think, to go to an academy, to have that kind of environment, to if your ambition is to compete at the Olympics, to win Grand Prix, that kind of thing? Would you say that it's an advantage to go to high school at one of these academy type schools where you get to ride 5 to 7 days a week?
Yeah, definitely. At Stratton Mountain School, you're riding 5-7 days a week. In the off season, you're doing different activities that are going to get you prepared for the winter. You have coaches there that have the knowledge, are helping you get to where you need to be. And then you're also, at Stratton Mountain School, you're getting amazing education as well. So it's you kind of got the whole package.
Right. So what are some of the other academies that you guys compete with for students or for aspiring athletes?
Oh, there is so many different programs out there nowadays, just being out here right now in Summit County and seeing all the different ones and, all the ones we have back at home. But, right now, if you look at kind of USASA, I help with the Southern Vermont Series back home with my friend Paul Kelly and Tyler Emon and a bunch of people. Right now, Rocky Mountain Series, that's like the biggest series of not up and coming kids, but numbers, and then Southern Vermont. So like those two areas are really populated with a lot of, riders and academies and stuff like that.
At what point do you recognize kind of the talent in these athletes where you're like, oh, that kid's going all the way? At what age are you like, oh, that's one of the kids right there?
Yeah. There's so many good young up and coming rippers.
obviously
sometimes
you can be
tell
wrong
when they're 13 or so, sometimes early. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of people that have kind of come up over the years, people.
Right.
Kyle Mack was out here not too long ago. When he was like 13 doing doubles, that kind of stuff. That was, it seemed like he was going somewhere. You see Valentino ripping and charging at a young, he's been doing it for a long time. We'll see where he makes it too.
Yeah.
But it all depends. Everyone's different. Some people it takes longer than others, and definitely disciplines. Half pipe and slope, especially slope, kids are doing it at a young age. Red Gerard, everyone else. And then, you look at bordercross and still a lot of guys my age are the ones that are still winning World Cups.
Right. So when you're, you have these students who are in high school, do you kind of push them towards the slope style or the half pipe based on the facilities you have at home, or based on their natural ability, or based on the fact that you're like, when you retire from half pipe, you can go into border cross?
Oh gosh. Yeah, no, like I said, I just try to make, them the best all around riders. And then, they kind of choose what they're into. A lot of kids on our team nowadays are into slope style, but we also got kids into half pipe, into border cross, even alpine racing. Younger kids do a lot of it. So I encourage them to ride a little everything, and then kind of help them, make the decisions of what they want to ride and support that, and try to help them get to the highest level possible. So
for these kids who are, coming up, what advice do you give them to try to make it to being a pro athlete? Like, what kind of sage wisdom do you have for people who are like trying to get those sponsors and get video parts or whatever, just try to make it as a pro athlete?
Yeah, it can be hard. Everyone's different, and sometimes you just got to be in the right place at the right time. But yeah, just becoming the best rider you can be all around, and showing that on the hill. I like to always say, like, you go to local mountains and there's some rippers or skate parks, whatever it is, but can those people go perform at all the different places? That's
right.
That's what makes a really good rider, I think.
Okay, so who are like a couple of the top kids that whose names we may be hearing for the first time, but we will hear in the future, who are part of the Stratton program?
Oh, hopefully a lot of them. Probably one that's starting to really get recognized right now is Zeb Powell, ripping rider. Probably getting ready to sign some deals with a couple companies. So, I think he's just always out there having fun, trying different stuff. I almost like to describe him as a video game. Sometimes you can't even coach him because I don't know if he knows what he's going to do.
Is he still on your program right now?
Yeah.
Really? I see him
Yeah,
on
he's
the
a senior right now. He's riding really well, and then a bunch of other guys coming up as well. We got a good older group, good younger group, and
How important is it for that older group to kind of feed the energy of the younger group, to have the older guys ride with the younger guys and have them kind of like follow in the wake, so to speak, of those guys who are making it?
it's great. You want the older guys to be positive role models and, support the younger guys and, try to get them riding together, try to get the kids working with all the different coaches, everyone giving their knowledge and, just being a team. I think, a bunch of guys riding together, pushing each other in that fun, friendly, competitive way. That's how a lot of people make it. You look back at a lot of the people that have come out of SMS and the Danny Davises, Louis Vitos, Lindsey Jacobellis, Alex Debo, all those guys, they were always there with other good riders and pushing one another.
Right. Who were the best riders from your era at SMS?
Oh, my era at SMS, probably, Travis McLean made it to a high level.
Yeah.
Leslie Olson. Back in the day, a bunch of people were getting product, getting travel, getting paid
Right.
when we were there.
Right. So did you make, speaking of getting paid, did you make enough money to retire? You won a gold medal. You won a bronze medal. I don't know how many athletes can claim two-time, Olympian or Olympic medalist. Did you make enough money where you could actually not do anything?
Oh, no, I definitely did not.
Okay.
I made good money.
Yeah.
But at the time when you're making good money, you're spending a lot of money. You're, paying a lot of taxes.
Right.
Paying your agents.
Lamborghinis aren't cheap.
No, I didn't have any. I never had any crazy stuff. I invested all mine into Vermont real estate, which hasn't done so well, and got beat up in the stock market when that crashed. So back to just kind of working and doing that. I still have some real estate and stuff like that. But
so would you do stuff differently now with the hindsight that you have of kind of looking back on your career?
I guess the only thing I would do, I love the state of Vermont, but I would have invested into places that I almost did. I almost bought a house in Utah once, Park City, that's
right.
Gone crazy.
Yeah.
Out at Copper, Mammoth, all those places where I checked real estate out and never bought into it. All these places have gone nuts, and back home, everything's gone in half.
Oh, that doesn't sound very sweet. But at least you got your own place. You got a place near the lake, right?
Oh, no. I don't have I still spend time up at Lake Bomazine. I have a place down by Stratton. Some property down there and working at school close by. Loving family, my wife, Marissa, Victoria, Meredith, and just family work, family.
Okay.
That's what it's all about these days, getting out and playing a little bit. I like to say I do a little everything, but not enough of anything.
So what do you do for play besides snowboarding? Obviously, you're still snowboarding today, but what else are you doing?
Oh, gosh. I love all kinds of sports. Mountain biking, still skating with the kids at SMS, snowboarding with them a lot, obviously. Like riding dirt bikes, golfing. Got into hunting with my brother a little lately, which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
A little everything.
Okay, so let me change gears here a little bit. Just, it always occurred to me that, like, despite all of your championships and winning so many events and winning gold medals and all this stuff, that it never really went to your head. Like, you never were kind of this unapproachable person or this person who thought they were better than the people around them or whatever. What do you credit that to? The fact that you were always someone who could deal with little kids or fans or whatever and do it in a way where you kind of were always at their level, or you brought yourself to their level and always kind of dealt with them one-on-one.
Yeah, I'd say, just growing up in a small town of Vermont, loving mom, and brother, and my mom just works at the cafeteria in Bromley. So, humble beginnings and just worked for everything I had. And, grew up with, I've hang out with so many different people of different levels and that like different things that, just kind of learn to, talk and enjoy talking to whoever it is and spend time with them. And, just, people spent the time and invested into me, and, it's all about just being nice, being kind. It's easier to be kind than it is to be mean. That's for sure. Well,
you certainly have that in spades. I think everyone recognizes that in you even today. So if do you ride Burton boards still?
I do right now. Yeah, riding a Burton Custom.
Okay. Do you have a contract with them? Are you like on the team, Burton team?
No,
again?
Over the years, I haven't had I think it was 2006-ish area last time I had a contract. I still have some friends that have worked there over the years that have hooked me up with some product here and there. But yeah, no, I'd love to work with Burton more and do stuff with them.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's companies like LibTech where they have guys like Matt Cummins, who's been on the team for like 27 years or something. Do you feel a little weird about like having been like one of the top pros for Burton for so long, and then just basically them cutting ties at the end of your contract?
Yeah, it's a bummer. I got my first, I think I was in 5th grade, got my first letter from Jake, get a board a year contract, and, threw out my whole career with Burton everything, when all the other guys were making money and buying, designer clothes, this, that. I always had my Burton t-shirt, Burton hat on, and supported them. And, I would ride Burton for life if they wanted me.
Hey, what's up, Snowboard Project listeners? I know you're probably sitting on the couch or in the car or somewhere with another friend of yours who is also a snowboarder, who is sitting there scrolling on his phone, on his Facebook, on his Instagram, and he has no idea what a podcast is. So here's what I want you to do. Here's the challenge. You need to walk over to your friend, grab his phone, scroll down and find that little purple podcast button that he has no idea has never opened, and I want you to press it. And you are going to do him the biggest favor of his life right now. You are going to subscribe him or her to the Snowboard Project, and then you're going to rate us 5 stars, and you're going to throw him his phone back and say, "You're welcome." They get to listen every week to 3 different stories, a couple from, other snowboarders just like them, or maybe an industry person that will give them the great information they want to know about design, or maybe about, marketing themselves, or maybe about just snowboarding and being a competitive snowboarder. And you're also going to get news, and news that's not just past the, next 180 or the 1620. You are going to hear things about the adventure, the friendship, and you are going to hear about the experiences of doing what you love, which is snowboarding. Hit the purple button, subscribe him, rate us, hand the phone back, and say, "You're welcome."
But I think there's no one, at least, who represents, more Burton, more Vermont, more All-American than Ross the Boss Powers.
Yeah, well, thank you. No,
Okay, so let's go through a list of 3s. We'll go through. I do this with some of my interviews. I ask them just like about 3 things, like top 3 boards you ever rode. Your favorite 3 boards.
Oh, favorite 3 boards for me, probably Micro Kelly, Craig Kelly's younger board, and then, the Balances, Terrier's board, and then I'd have to say my Pro Model.
Oh, all Burton. There you go. Okay, for top 3 riders to ride with, if you're going to go free riding or just spend the day on the mountain with 3 people, choose anybody. Who would they be?
Oh, gosh. Over my career, I've ridden with so many good riders and good friends, and luckily to still call a lot of them friends. I can't even come up with that one, I don't think. Right now, I'd just have to say my wife and 2 daughters, just to keep it simple, because I don't want to leave anyone out.
Ooh, PC. Very politically correct of you. Okay, top 3 resorts that you've ridden at. I know you've ridden all over the world, hundreds of resorts probably.
I'd say the resorts that mean the most to me, Stratton, that's where I'm at. Bromley, where I grew up. And then, Park City, where I won the gold. So those have the most meaning, but yeah, to get out, I've ridden some really cool places. Some heli riding down in New Zealand, riding the backcountry up in BC. Still so many mountains I want to get out there and ride, but, good times up at Whistler, good times at Snowbird, good times all over.
Right. Okay. So 3 places on your bucket list, 3 places you haven't been that want to go to.
Well, I think number 1 involves you, because I still have to get up to Alaska someday.
Okay. Yes, you do.
So I got to do that.
Yeah.
I still haven't even been to Jay Peak in Vermont. I hear on a good snow
Terrible.
year.
Terrible. I'm just kidding.
Where else? There's a few places I need to get back to. I haven't been to Jackson Hole in a long time.
Okay.
I would like to get there sometime.
Okay. Okay. How about like the 3 favorite bands? 3 favorite,
3 favorite bands.
Yeah.
Number 1 for me, I've always loved the Beastie Boys. They're one of my favorites. Who else? One of my local bands I like listening to lately. My friend that I grew up with, Saints and Liars. They're good. Been enjoying some Chris Stapleton lately.
Okay. How about your three most?
Always liked like Pennywise, No Effects. We used to always see Pennywise and Mammoth. That was fun.
So you lean a little bit towards punk rock, maybe.
I mean, I like a little everything. It depends on who I'm hanging out with. But
Okay. So how about your three most lucrative sponsorship deals?
Three most lucrative sponsorship deals. Gosh, probably number one would be Burton.
Right, because you had a multi-year deal with them and Pro Models.
With the multi-years. So yeah, Burton, I can't remember the figures, but my RLX deal for the time was good. My Polo deal, Ralph Lauren deal. And then after the Olympics, like pretty much the Coca-Cola, the Activision, Bolé, Lego, I think those were all similar deals at the time.
Okay. Are there three people who have pissed you off enough that you won't talk to them anymore?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I don't think that I have one that I don't talk to anymore.
That's what I was thinking. There's probably nobody that you won't talk to.
There's probably some people that have made me mad over the time, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever been in a fist fight?
You know, as groups, maybe in some scuffles, but just me one-on-one. I mean, I've played around and boxed some friends and stuff like that, but I don't think I've actually been in a...
You ever gotten into any real serious trouble?
No.
Not that
Luckily,
anybody
right?
knows about, right? Okay. Okay. So looking back, I mean, you grew up in a pretty wild time in snowboarding. It was like definitely not as serious. Maybe you could have a little bit more fun. Going back in time, would you do anything differently as far as your pro career, as far as how seriously you took it, how much fun you had, that balance between riding and partying with your friends and traveling? Is there anything you do differently from those days?
Not really. No, I think, I rode hard. I went and gave it my all wherever I went. And then, a lot of those times after, it's just you celebrated all the events you went to, had parties, and whether you won or lost, you either celebrated your successes or your friends, and, good times for sure.
So what was the best party you've ever been to celebrating?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. There was a lot of them. Some of the U.S. Open ones back home, after winning the Open, I wasn't even old enough to party, I don't think. And one of my friends threw a huge party. That was fun. Yeah.
So how was that, like sitting outside looking in through the windows?
Pretty good.
Yeah. I'll bet. Okay. So what kind of aspirations do you have for your kids? Do you want them to follow in your footsteps, be pro riders? Do you want them to kind of follow that same path, or are they going to do something else entirely?
With my daughters, I always said I'd introduce them to all the sports I can, and whatever they choose, I'll support. They both like snowboarding, so I love getting out there with them. I'll
score.
Encourage. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. That was one of my best days, actually, be able to ride up the lift with my daughters and snowboard down together. So that's always a good one for future parents. They both like snowboarding, and I'll help them as much as I can, but I'm definitely not going to push them to any levels of that. My older daughter, Victoria, really loves soccer. She's working hard at SMS, the whole student athlete package. So definitely support her there. And then my younger daughter, she likes to just go out and play in the woods and collect worms. And this fall we did our hunter safety. I did it with her. I hadn't done that since I was her age and her younger. And a little everything.
Nice. So pretty soon we're going to be seeing Victoria on the Grand Prix Tour.
I don't know. She's definitely stepped it up and learning some stuff. Now they have 2 levels of Rev Tour. She's invited to the 5th level of that. She might do some of those this year and see. But, to me, it's all about just kind of riding, putting in the time, and learning the stuff you need to do to be competitive at those events.
Right. So, okay. So, you have your kids kind of coming up, maybe following in your footsteps. You have kids who are trying to, glean as much knowledge from your career. How about for recreational riders? What advice do you have for people who just like to snowboard and remember you when you're winning gold medals and winning every contest? What advice do you have for them to make the most out of snowboarding?
Yeah, I'd say if you're learning snowboarding, like find a day like where the weather's nice and the conditions are good, where you can just try to go out multiple days in a row. A lot of mountains, Burton Learn to Ride. Try to get into a program there where you can get some advice from some people and be able to do it for a couple consecutive days. You hear so many people go out there and beat themselves up so bad the first day that they don't go back out right away. So that's one of them. And then people that just recreational, just, find some good buddies to ride with or family, whatever it is, and go out, have fun, push one another in that fun, friendly way, whether it's you're keeping your board on the ground or not. And, try to get on some adventures, try some different places. It's always fun to do something new.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Ross. I appreciate your time. Pretty interesting little interview. Is there anything that I forgot to mention? Anything we should talk about? We could dig deeper on Burton. I don't think we really have to. I think
it's all, all good. I just, I can't believe how fast it goes. All those days when I was the little kid coming up, and then the days where you're kind of on top, and then you're kind of going down the next level, and, now into my next career, but still staying involved in the sport, love the sport. So many people helped me out along the way, where my mom, Nancy, brother, Trevor, all the sponsors over the years, U.S. team, Peter Foley and the whole crew there. Peter Carlisle, my agent, who's probably one of my best friends today. Just all the support, thank you.
Yeah. So one last question. What does your run through the half pipe look like today?
So run through the half pipe, probably, nowadays I do, when I get to come coach the kids at the event, if there's some free time, I'll get to play a little bit. Definitely doing the methods, lots of them.
Okay.
A lot of straight airs,
Well,
I don't really do much spinning or flipping unless I have to. The one time I really
no triple
do that,
14? No triple 14?
No. I stopped at 1080s myself.
Okay.
But Vermont Open, it's an event. It still goes on in Vermont, not to take the place of the U.S. Open, but to keep a snowboard event there and everyone coming back, having a good time. That's the one event I do with all the kids. I, everything from the rail jam to the slope style to retro pipe to bank slalom, and still stay competitive there. Actually wrecked my shoulder at the last one. I'm just able to do a push-up now, so now I got to get ready for it coming up in March.
Okay, back into training. Cool. Right on, Ross. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mark, man. Always good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
On behalf of Mark Sullivan and the Beeve, thanks for listening to the Snowboard Project. Remember, ride fast, take chances, dream big, and take action. And for God's sake, don't be a... Don't forget to support advertising-free snowboarding media at patreon.com. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.